Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. This is a very serious topic. There is a disease taking over the world, especially here in America, and scientists are baffled. They've never seen anything like this. We've warned people about this, but now it's actually here. And before I show you exactly what's happening, Matthew, my friend, I miss you. I love you. How are you?
Good, man. Love you too. Everything's great, man. You know, cooling down here in Arizona. We miss you. Not much else to speak of. We did a Veterans Day party at my house, a Friendsgiving. Not a whole heck of a lot. Busy.
It's that time of year. Now, before I clicked record, I told you that there's a disease that scientists just found. And this is it. Here's the thing. Trump derangement syndrome that psychiatrists and psychologists are saying is a real thing. I read a whole article on it yesterday, and here's Victor reacting to it. Check this out.
No way. The jokes are coming to life. Psychotherapists are now confirming that they are seeing patients with Trump derangement syndrome. Now, technically, they're calling it obsessive political preoccupation, but you tell me if this sounds like Trump derangement syndrome. Patients are described as suffering persistent intrusive thoughts about Trump, having to compulsively monitor news about Trump, enduring chronic hyperarousal and vigilance because of Trump, and losing the ability to function normally in their daily life because of Trump. I'm wondering, when Trump is no longer in office, what are these people going to do with themselves? Are they going to check under their bed or in the closet every night before they go to sleep and see, is Donald Trump under there? Is he under the bed? What happened? And the Democrat Party has just stoked this, and they have abused people who have what seems to be a mental illness and worked them up for years.
Now, yesterday when I was reading the article, one of the psychiatrists actually said that he had a patient that shared with him that they went on vacation and she couldn't even eat or sleep on vacation because all she could think about was Trump. Now, I blame the media for this. What about you?
Just about to say that. Yeah, just about to say that. The media's criminal. They're complicit. They're pushing, take the Epstein situation. They're pushing this document where they redacted the name. This document came out in 2011. You know what I mean? In other words, these people are they're concocting, they're just making stuff up. And, it's frustrating, I guess, on the one hand for us, but at the same time, it's a great position to be in because all the Democrats have left is just lies. All they can do is lie. They have to lie, right? And it's nice to be on the side of truth and honesty, right? That's a great place to be. So, if you're out there and you're kind of annoyed by this Epstein narrative and this, that, and the other thing, just really put it in perspective. And it's actually, you're on the winning team. This is a complete loss for these people. And that's my thought.
And another thing so Mamdani won, and I want to show this. I made a shorter video, but I want to get your reaction. So listen to this. And he made this announcement after he won. We're in the bullshit. And I've told you this a year ago. America's in the Bolshevik Revolution.
Right.
With many of many of our some conspiracy theories, and some when you look, first it was the LGBT riots, now it's the immigration riots, now it's eat the rich. It's we're looking in the mirror just 100 years forward. He never mentioned he was going to do this, but he just announced this yesterday. Zohran Mamdani, the Democrat New York Assembly member and surprise mayor-elect of New York City, following the November 2025 election, has publicly vowed, now listen, following the election, has publicly vowed to target and shut down pro-life pregnancy centers, also known as crisis pregnancy centers, across the city. These centers, often run by anti-abortion groups like churches and pro-life mothers, right, Christians. A majority of these are run by Christians. These provide alternatives to abortion, such as counseling, ultrasounds, and material support for expectant mothers. Mamdani, however, described them as, quote, fraudulent and fake clinics that deceive vulnerable women by posing as medical facilities while pushing an anti-abortion agenda. That is absolutely disgusting. What do you think of that?
I didn't see that. I'm not really following too much on Mamdani in terms of his policies and whatnot, but yeah, it's awful. You know, these are great, great centers. I think we should be expanding these, not obviously closing these down. I think really what you want to close down is Planned Parenthood, but we know the story there. If Mamdani made a very big mistake, Trump said it himself. He said, you know, he's already failing, and what he meant by that was, you know, in his victory speech, he didn't win. There's videos already out of them bringing in ballots already filled out. The whole thing's a con job. But you know, he already failed by saying, you know, he's going to protect the city, you know, New York City from Trump. Right. What I would be looking for in New York City, and this goes for California, I'd pay a big heads up to this subject, you know, especially because I'm in the gold business, right? I'm a gold silver dealer out here in Glendale, Arizona. These cities, you know, they have things like municipal bonds, right? All different types of bonds, utility bonds, right, etc. These bonds are all about to go south. They're all about to fail. This is money that's just been laundered for decades. And these bonds are going to come due and they're going to have to pay out. They don't have the money to do it. Okay. And then when your credit rating, you can't pay it. Well, it's like a credit card. What happens if you can't pay your credit card? It affects your credit score. And now what? Now you can't get more credit. You have to pay off what you already have. Well, this money's been laundered out. So the bond market in both New York City as well as California, just in general, probably the greater New York, they're not going to be able to get new money. They're not going to be. You're going to see New York. Mark my words. You heard it here first. You're going to see probably within the next year, New York City coming to a screeching halt. California and New York are going to be running to the federal government. They're going to be begging Trump. And what are they going to do, Vlad? You already know what they're going to do. They're going to take the crisis that's happening locally, and they're going to try to blame Trump for it, right? Because Trump's going to sit there, and it'll be interesting to see what Trump does. He doesn't have to give them anything. He owes them nothing. He might try to. The media will try to pressure him to help get the money in there, but Trump could sit there and just say, "All right, I'll think about it." Schools will be shut down. Grocery stores will be empty. Buses won't be running. Subways. You name it. None of this stuff's going to be. New York City and California, the major cities in California, are going to come to a screeching halt. And you're going to see that not only are these bonds completely done with, but it's the politicians that these leftists voted in, right? So it's giving them exactly what they voted for, and I look forward to it. But if you're out there in New York City or California, I would definitely say get storable food, get stuff in your own possession, right? Something that you can sustain, because I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a disaster out there.
And just 2 nights ago in Seattle, another socialist 20-something-year-old chick that never worked a job in her life, has really rich parents, total far left extremist, just like Mamdani, praises Stalin and the Bolshevik Revolution was great. Boom, she just won Seattle. So you're seeing these major cities are going down that route. And again, going back to the Bolshevik Revolution, until it was too late, no one even realized. They're like, well, it'll get better once we have the whole country. And they were doing that in cities. Even the Bolsheviks, they'd install they'll take part of the country and they'll install a communist Soviet Union leader in some city, and everything's going down the drain. And they'd be like, well, the federal government, we don't have control of that yet. Just wait till we have it. And then when they got the federal government, that's when they had the military. Dude, I just found out my dad was born in a Soviet gulag and lived the first 3 years of his life in a Soviet Union gulag because his parents were Christian.
How's Alex doing?
Oh, he's great. Yeah, he's downstairs right now.
I love your dad.
I just found that out when we were in Florida. I was like, why didn't I ever know this? He's like, I thought you knew. I was like, I knew your mom and dad served time and your grandma. I never knew you did. He's like, oh, yeah. He's like, yeah, I was born. Because we had this argument. Like, this one guy was like, we got to pray for Ukraine because we're from Ukraine. My grandparents, they were arrested in Ukraine for being Christian. And my dad's like, should I pray for the gulag I was born in? And, it's just like your argument falls apart. Bible says in Jeremiah 27:17, the land you're in is what you need to fight for.
This is going to have, New York. We thought we saw a mass exodus from California and New York. We haven't really seen anything yet. We're getting close to that. How could I say? that event, right? That moment where things are really going to start hitting the fan left and right. New York home price, real estate values, they're going to plummet. People are going to be leaving the city, even the suburbs. They're probably getting out of there. People are going to be running from these places as fast as they can. And what do you think that's going to do to the markets? What do you think that's going to do to the economy? It's going to have a big impact. California is what, the 6th or 7th largest economy in the world, right? This is going to have massive impact. This is the type of stuff that will tank markets, will tank the value of the dollar, will show, they're going to try to hide, banks, the banks and financial institutions. They're completely insolvent, right? They're going to use these crises to cover up what's really been going on in the banking system. So just be aware, they're going to use this crisis that's about to happen in California and New York to probably crash the banking system.
Give yourself a shout out. How do people prepare? Because money's going to go down the drain, right? Boom, give yourself a shout out. And this is actually your personal cell phone number. I'm only sharing it right now. Usually I have the office number. Boom.
Yeah, don't give it out to everybody. No, we have a main line, but you obviously give out my personal cell, and obviously I love your viewers. Yeah, I think it's just very important that you get your money out of these banks, especially if you have an IRA, 401k, get it the hell out of these places. It's like these financial institutions, these things are nothing more than a mirage. Nothing exists in these places. These banks don't produce anything. Gold, silver is one way. Maybe some people like the crypto space. Great. I'm not a big time crypto trader, but I own some. I've done the Bitcoin, the XRP, the Cardano, and right, some different Solana, whatever. But yeah, I think anything other than keeping your money in the banks is a great idea. I mean, Vlad, I'm a big collector of stuff. Buy collectibles. Hey, if there's some stuff out there that you think might be worth some money in the future, hey, that's a great place to store some money. But I think gold and silver is the best, because I think what Trump's setting us up for is a gold and silver backed system, right? And evidence of that would be, why do you think he dyes his hair bright gold with silver linings, right? It's a communication, in my view. He's got fencing around the Treasury Department. The Federal Reserve's on its way out. A lot of moving parts happening right now. This movie's coming to a close, and I think everybody should, just get protected. And whether you go to me or a local dealer, just get your hands on some stuff. Obviously, if you want to support the show, support Vlad, come to Verity. But hey, if you got a local guy, hey, great. Get your hands on some gold, some silver. Look at the prices, Vlad. I mean, we haven't done an episode in like a month. Yeah. Look at the prices now. We're hovering above 50. We got as high as, I think, 55 or 56 on silver.
Yeah.
Gold was at what, 4,500. Yeah. Take advantage of this, because it's as I've always said on your show, Vlad, it's not the price of gold and silver that's going to be prohibitive to get it. It's going to be your ability to find it. Right? When people start realizing, the bond markets are breaking down in New York and California, and civilization in these areas are going to complete chaos, no one's going to part ways with their silver, and you're not going to be able to get it. And if somebody's going to let go of their silver, they're going to do it at a 2x spot price premium. They're not going to part ways with it. This is about wealth preservation. So it's a game of musical chairs. Get yourself seated in that chair before somebody else takes it.
Yeah, no, and this is something I've been like, I've since me and you, we met, became friends. This is something I've watched a lot of the stuff you said when it comes to the financial and gold. When we met, gold was like $1,600 an ounce. You said it's gonna go up. Yep. You said it's gonna go up, but you were saying that. I was like, no, you're gonna see it hit 5, 6, 7. We haven't seen that, but we've seen 4. I remember people calling on your show when gold was like $2,000. They're like, never mind. I don't think it's gonna go any higher. And you're like, ma'am, I'm telling you. And then she's like, I'm going back into the market. Right?
Yeah, we had that
calling back a year later. Now they have less money and they're paying more for precious metals.
Exactly.
Because, and historically, precious metals, it's like you say, the equalizer. It balances against.
It's the equalizer, right? So in other words, a lot of my gold I bought at 17, 1800. Now that it's at 4,000 plus, it's not that I've made some big profit. It's that everything else is losing value. And what Trump's here to do is he's doing a controlled demolition of the country. The economy, the every system you could think of, judicial system, economy, healthcare system. It's a controlled demolition of this. We have to rebuild this country in we have to get back to the Constitution. We have to get back to God. There's a lot of things. People need to start humbling themselves And life isn't about money. Life's about the relationships you make in life. But if you can get see the forest through the trees and get yourself protected, it's obviously you want to hold on to your wealth as best you can. And I think gold and silver is the way to do that. But it's scary stuff, man. I mean, I wouldn't tell people to freak out, but you look at what's going on. I mean, what the Democrats are doing right now, it's outrageous. These lies about this Epstein stuff, these lies, it's everything's a lie. So just take that into account.
I'll say this, and I want to close it off. Trump needs to either release everything, stop playing games, because I've seen just today a couple hundred really big pro-Trump accounts burning their MAGA stuff. So it's going very bad. And what happened?
Why are they burning their MAGA stuff?
Because they said, look, he won't release anything. Obviously, he's plus with Marjorie Taylor Greene last night.
I like that they're releasing stuff. And we've actually been talking about this since it first came up with Pam Bondi. You were pissed off. I was sitting there like, hey, I'm not concerned about it. What have we gotten these news outlets to do? We've gotten them to have to come out and literally lie about Trump being with little kids, right? He can now go turn around and sue these organizations for billions of dollars. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. That's his trap. He gets them to go out. They have no other narrative. They have to go out and lie about Trump and Epstein and this, that, and the other thing. And you know what? We're going to be buying. My goal, Vlad, is to turn over the New York Times to you at 5 cents on the dollar. That's my goal. I'm going to get you the New York Times when this is all said and done. You're going to own it for 5 cents on the dollar.
Whew, we got it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you know what's happening. You know what's going on. No one is going to provide for your family. Only you can. So protect what you've already saved, earned, whatever it is. Like Matthew says, want to support the show, call him. If not, go to a local dealer. Just be protected. That's how we believe in this stuff. Even if it's not from you, get it. Get it.
And you spelled my name wrong, but that's okay.
Huh?
You spelled my name with one T, but it's fine. It's funny. It's funny. Yeah, get protected. Get just be safe and stay out of the big Democrat cities.
That's right. Boom.